I do want to go
Cool.
back to Canelo Crawford because it is the biggest news, and everyone's buzzing. We're getting little morsels from the Ring magazine, which I love, by the way. They say, the Ring has learned. Like Turkey owns it. Who else are they learning it
Yeah.
from? We don't need to say
Yeah.
sources say. We know where it's coming from, and that's fine. No need to speculate. No need to wonder. It seems like we're moving in that direction. It seems like we're moving towards September 13th, Allegiant Stadium, which, by the way, is a massive stadium where the Las Vegas Raiders play. This isn't T-Mobile. It's the football stadium, which has never hosted an MMA or a boxing event. They did host SummerSlam a couple years ago, and they'll be hosting WrestleMania in April, 2 nights. So, maybe a sign of things to come. And it looks like it's going down at 168 pounds. Your reaction?
Wow. When I first heard it, I was like, okay, this is... We kind of knew it was coming, but I didn't know it was going to be announced. I mean, I've never known a fight to be sort of scheduled for September, but announced in February. I mean, that's a 7-month swing.
Well, it hasn't been officially announced yet, right? Like, not official,
it's not been officially
but
announced,
it's like unofficial.
but it has been confirmed.
Yeah.
As you say, I mean, it's the Ring magazine.
Yeah.
Turkey owns the Ring magazine. Turkey put this fight together. Turkey's given them the green light to put that story out. So for me, that's all the confirmation I need. I love it, and I love the way they are drip feeding sort of more information, more nuggets, as you say. First of all, it's September. Now it's September 13th. Now it's the Raider Stadium. So this is all sort of playing up well, and I'm happy it's the Raider Stadium as well, just because, what is that, 65,000 with floor seats, maybe 75, another 10,000 on the floor. It needs to be that big. I love the T-Mobile Arena, but it's not big enough. I think everyone needs to see this fight. It's easily the biggest fight of 2025. I said last week that Benavidez Morrell was my most exciting fight. Well, that's been completely pushed down to second place because this is crazy. It's the kind of fight that everyone talks about around the world. It's the kind of fight that gets into the headlines between sort of NFL and NBA and football. So look, I'm super excited about it. I just wonder, my biggest question, Ariel, my biggest takeaway is, do they both have interim fights? Like, do they both risk rolling the dice in May? Do we see that? Crawford maybe not so, because he's a 1 fight a year fighter. That's all he does. It's all he's done for the last 5 years. Canelo, though, fights twice a year, has always done that. So I do wonder if interim fights will be sort of put in place before the big one in September. I hope not, but I think so.
Well, that is a perfect segue, because there are now more and more reports and whispers that there's something going on between Canelo Álvarez and Jake Paul. There's something happening here. Are you buying or selling this? And if it does in fact end up being May against Jake Paul, does that, in your opinion, take anything away from this super fight in September? And I don't say take it away in the sense of like, oh, what if he slips on a banana peel? But just, going from Jake to Terence, there's a massive leap in terms of talent there. I mean, let's be honest. Do you feel that it puts Canelo in one bucket here, and then he's going to try to move to another bucket? Or maybe this is all just hogwash, and he's getting paid $1 gazillion in 2025, and God bless him?
Yeah, I think it could be the latter. Like, when I first read this, I was like, okay, this is silly. And it's not silly because I don't think Canelo will fight Jake Paul, because I do believe, and I came onto your show in the studio a couple of months ago, and I do believe the fight will happen. Like, if you told me Canelo versus Jake Paul in 4 years, I'd say, okay, yeah, fine, of course it's going to happen. But if you're telling me Canelo, Jake Paul in May, I'm like, you must be crazy. And I mean this respectfully to Jake Paul. This is Canelo we're talking about. This fight doesn't last a round. Like, if Canelo wanted to get Jake Paul out of there in a round, in a minute, I believe he does that. Again, this is no discredit to Jake Paul. I think what Jake Paul's done in the sport of boxing has been incredible. I think what him and his brother have done in just the world of entertainment has been incredible. But Jake Paul is fighting potentially a guy that's top 5, top 6 pound for pound, a guy that's only lost to Dimitri Bivol and Floyd Mayweather, a guy that's still very much at the top of his game. The kahunas and Jake Paul to wanting to get in the ring with Canelo at this stage of Canelo's career. This isn't an Anderson Silva. This isn't a Mike Tyson. This is a legit live boxer. It's crazy. But considering the numbers they did on Netflix, I can imagine Nikisa and Jake Paul sitting down with Netflix and saying, okay, how do we try and get something like that again? And top of the list would be Canelo, I guess, followed closely by Conor McGregor. So there are only 2 options to kind of get those numbers again. So it's not as crazy as people think. I think it could happen, but I'm still calling cap.
Would he finally get the respect that he deserves from the hardcore boxing community if he takes the fight, regardless of the result? Like the Carl Frochs of the world, right? Would they finally say, you know what? respect. You're fighting a guy who's somewhat in his prime, one of the greatest of all time. He's not in his 40s. He's not an old man. He's not an MMA fighter. Does he finally get that respect, or will they see it as some sort of freak show fight where he could say, hey, look, I took a chance. I dared to dream, and now I'm going to go back to other fights?
Again, the latter.
Really?
Freak show fight. Yeah, he's not getting respect. I mean,
Why does he not get respect for taking this? He
because
can
it
get
depends
humiliated.
how he performs. Yeah, but it depends how he performs. He doesn't care about that. I think Jake doesn't necessarily care about that. Jake seems to be the most thick-skinned person I've ever seen in my life. He doesn't seem to care about abuse that's directed his way. It seems to just go over his head or goes in between one ear and come out the other. It depends how he does in that fight. If Jake, say, lasts 4 or 5 rounds of Canelo, gets up from a couple of body shots, then I think, okay, thumbs up. Everyone's going to show him that respect, and rightly so. If Jake gets washed in a round and gets 100 million for getting washed in a round, I don't think he gets respect. Should he get respect? I mean, who wouldn't jump in the ring with Canelo for 100 million for a round? I'd do it.
The truth is, I don't think. Look, there will always be talk about whether or not Floyd Mayweather carried Conor McGregor. We'll never truly know the answer to that question. But I don't think Canelo, if he's agreeing to this fight, I don't think he's finishing this in a minute. I think he will do the dance. You know what I mean?
Oh, really?
100%.
That's interesting, because I've always looked at Canelo as someone that will. I don't know if he views Jake as a bit of a joke, a bit of a sideshow. I'm not quite sure. And I've always viewed him as someone that wants to put this sideshow to bed. I almost feel like he wants to. Like when Darren Till says, I'm going to come in and end Misfits. Sure. I almost feel like Canelo looks at that when it comes to Jake. So I expect Canelo to go in there and just blow him out.
He's also a businessman. He's a businessman, and he's getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah, but what is it? Yeah, but
he's getting paid a lot of money for the easiest.
He's not getting paid per second.
No, but I'm just saying he's getting a lot of money for the easiest fight of his career, and at least at this point of his career, who knows, what he was doing when he was, 1-0. But the point is, I think he goes out there and just, he gets paid,
dances,
and he puts on a show to a degree. And I'm saying this as someone who doesn't know,
whether. Do you think this happens? You're talking to me like you think this actually. I mean, come on, Ariel. Ariel, stop it. You've got all the connections in the world.
I go back to post Tyson. I'm the one that said I think this happened. I even think I said this before Tyson that it's closer than ever, that it's a real thing. I said the same about the McGregor fight with the Pauls and with Jake in particular that I think could happen down the line as well. There's a lot more hurdles there, because he has 2 fights left on his UFC contract. We'll have plenty of time to talk about Jake Paul versus Canelo if, in fact, it gets done. And if it happens in May, that's going to be a fascinating scene in some city in America, Cinco de Mayo weekend, which is historically a big Canelo weekend. But I do want to...
You know what my worry is? What my worry is, very quickly? My worry, and this isn't certainly not the way I believe it, but the way a lot of casual fans believe it, my worry is that Canelo Jake Paul is bigger than Canelo Crawford.
Wow.
And I don't want it to take away from Canelo Crawford.
What is bigger?
What, in terms of what does more numbers?
On a mainstream level.
Canelo Crawford.
On a mainstream level.
Does,
you think so?
Canelo Crawford does more bigger. Yeah, I believe apologies. Canelo Jake Paul.
Oh,
yes. Does bigger numbers than Canelo Crawford.
Yes.
My apologies.
That's a crazy thing.
Canelo Jake Paul.
And of course, we have to know where it's going to air, what platform, this, that, and the other. But on a mainstream level, like, my children know who Jake Paul is. They don't know who Terence Crawford is. You know what I mean? Just that's just
exactly
the nature of things. So
100%.
It just reaches a whole other audience. What if Jake catches? What if? I mean, could you imagine?
Do you know the thing
goes
is?
Up in smoke.
I was thinking about this, but no one in boxing, of the thousands and thousands of boxers out there, nobody has a better chin than Canelo.
Nah, I know.
Nobody.
It's a crazy.
So even if Jake catches him, it's literally going to bounce off him. No one. So I hate to say it as a hardcore boxing fan, I'm intrigued.
By the way, it works.
Intrigued.
It works so perfectly for Canelo after what happened with Mike Tyson. He's the guy that says, "All right, let's go. I'm going to do this. I will be the guy to finally end him. I will be the guy to finally stop this circus, this charade." It works out perfectly. Oh, and by the way, he gets a boatload of money. Mr. Payday himself, he gets a boatload of money. Now, I want to go back to the Crawford fight, because I think initially when this was first being bandied about, everyone was like, even Canelo himself, I don't want to be a weight bully. 168, 147, 168, 154. That's not my thing. I won't get the proper credit if I beat this guy. As great as he is, he may in fact be the number one pound for pound fighter. But obviously, we're getting closer and closer. And I'm starting to feel like the initial thought of this won't be competitive is dissipating, Ade, and it's starting to become a discussion. You know what? Is Canelo getting older? Are the legs still there? Crawford, switch hitter. He did all right in his first fight at 54, but now he'll get more comfortable as a bigger guy. You know, he's actually not that small, this, that, and the other. Yesterday on my program, Ade, I spoke to David Benavidez, and I asked him about this fight, and his response surprised me. I want to play this clip for you and get your response to David's answer. Here it is.
It's a good fight for both of them. Good fight for I think it's more important for Crawford than anybody, you know, but I think if anybody could beat Canelo, I think Crawford could.
Yeah, I know you said like he could be the guy. What kind of a chance do you ultimately give him?
I think you give him like a 7 out of a 10.
Oh, wow, that high. I thought you were going to say like 25 just because of the size.
Good. Crawford is good. And
of course.
I think he's been known that he's going to fight Canelo for a long, long time. And, you know, Crawford, he likes to pick up the weight. So I'm sure he's been working on the weights for a long, long time. So, you know, Crawford, when he has with a person that has a big IQ like that, if you do enough weights, you know, and you stay working for a long time, you know, you have a puncher's chance.
Okay, so what do you make of that? What do you make of that response? I was a little surprised.
I need to clear up what he meant by 7 out of 10. Does he mean he's giving him a 70% chance to beat Canelo?
Yes.
Is that what it? Wow. That's,
yes.
I mean, who am I to disagree with Benavidez? Benavidez knows he's boxing, right? I mean, he might have shared the ring with both. I mean, with Terence Crawford. I mean, if anyone else was jumping up from 154 pounds to 168, not named Terence Crawford, I'd say this is crazy and they don't have a chance because they're fighting a guy that I still think is very, very good in Canelo. The reason I give Crawford a chance is because A, it's Terence Crawford and he's unbeaten, but B, I think Canelo's slipped just enough for me to think this is a real fight. This isn't Canelo that fought Golovkin second time round. I thought that was almost the best Canelo I've ever seen. It isn't that anymore. I've watched his last couple of fights. I've been lucky enough to have been at a few recent fights. The Bivol fight's taken something out of him. He doesn't throw punches and combinations. His feet have slowed just a little bit. And Crawford does throw combinations, and Crawford has really good feet. If I'm Crawford, I know Benavidez spoke about picking the weights up. If I'm Crawford, I come in just above middleweight. I don't try and match Canelo for size and come in at 168 pounds. You're not going to out-bully or out-strength Canelo. I know Crawford likes to wrestle a little bit and he's strong at that, but he's never going to be as strong as Canelo. It's just not possible. So I think you come in at 160, 161 and you use your speed and movement and you do it that way. And then I think Crawford's got a chance. If Crawford stays in the pocket with Canelo, there could be a problem. I saw when he stayed in the pocket with Madrimov, and Madrimov was able to catch him quite a few times and hurt Crawford a couple of times. Madrimov is no Canelo. So I think there are ways for Crawford to win, but you still got an edge towards the bigger guy that's not yet fallen off a cliff. This isn't a bigger guy that's done.
Yeah.
This is, as I said earlier, this is Canelo who's 5 or 6 pound for pound. This is a guy that was undisputed until they took a belt away. He's still very, very good. So I edge to Canelo, but I give Crawford a hell of a chance.
Can I be honest with you?
Yes,
I
sir.
edge to Crawford. I edged to Crawford, and this is why. Number one, I don't think he was motivated against Madrimov. I don't think there was anything there for him other than the fact that it was his first fight with Riyadh season, and he was fighting at 54, and this is what... There was no juice there. The promo was the best part, right? That incredible promo, there was no juice there. Number one. Number two, a lot of people forget. Have you ever seen those clips of Terence Crawford wrestling? Terence Crawford knows how to wrestle. Terence Crawford knows how to use his weight. His kids are great wrestlers as well. I've seen clips of him on the front lawn wrestling with his boys. Like, this guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to battle people who may be trying to weight bully him, who may be trying to use their weight to their advantage. Obviously, this isn't a wrestling match, but those things do come into play. He's one of the smartest fighters of all time. He's one of the best switch hitters of all time. He has incredible boxing IQ. We saw that against the likes of Errol Spence not that long ago. He's at the top of his game. He has not fallen off a cliff. He does not seem to be worn-torn. I really think he has a solid chance, and I think that sentiment is going to keep growing as we get closer to September. Of course, we're still 7 months away from this, this discussed date, but if Canelo takes another fight, if it's against Jake or someone else, he's just going to be out there chilling. He doesn't necessarily need another fight. Oh, you could say, okay, could he get another fight at 160 to get used to the weight? Yeah, sure. But I think that confidence in him is going to keep on growing. Now, the flip side of the coin, you have someone like Amir Khan, who was asked recently about this fight. Here's what he had to say. Let's see if you agree a little bit more with what the British boxing legend had to say recently.
There's weights for a reason in boxing, and even though I got a huge respect for Terence Crawford for showing the balls that he wants to go in the ring and fight a beast like Canelo, but like I said, Canelo, maybe Crawford sees something that other people are not seeing against Canelo, which is like maybe he's gone past his sell-by date, and maybe Crawford is the guy to catch him at the right time.
Okay, so he kind of hedged at the end there, but it doesn't sound like Amir fancies his chances, right?
Yeah, look, Amir understands the troubles that Crawford's going to have. Amir fought Canelo and got knocked out viciously, but that was a much younger, much better, much stronger Canelo. Now, this Canelo's had some wars. He's been in tough fights since then. So, look, I fully understand why you're edging to Crawford. Crawford's unbeaten. Unbeaten fighters don't know how to lose. But this is a Canelo that's seen every single style. You mentioned the switch hit in there, and you're rightly so. Crawford's a fantastic switch hitter. Canelo has seen everything. I mean, this career where he's been at the top of his game for the past, 12, 15 years, he's been in there and has lost a couple, but he's been in there with everyone. This is the big stage that he's now his normal stage. This is a big stage for Terence Crawford. I mean, yes, he's experienced it, I guess, with Errol Spence, but before then, nothing quite like what a Canelo fight's like. A Canelo fight week's completely different. I think Crawford's ready for it. I do, but I mean, it's a big jump. I mean, we say 154 to 168. Really and truly, it's 147 to 160.
Yeah.
He's only had one fight in 154. This isn't a guy that had 10 fights at 154. Now he's going up. So look, I think it's intriguing. I like the fact that we both have different views on it, and I think this is what's going to make it one of the most watched fights of 2025, because everyone's going to be glued to watch it, because is Canelo too big? Is Crawford too good?
Yeah.
And I think it's fantastic.